Hello again from Moscow, Russia. It's me, Expat American, and tonight I'm going to go on a date with a beautiful woman who's spent many more years in university than I have, and that would be this lovely lady right here, this Devushka. And the question we want to ask is, what is the difference between Russian women and women in America or Britain, women of the West, you could say? Not that you're not a woman of the West. My lady. So she's brought me into a fancy bookstore to start our date.
Napoleon's time.
Napoleon. You guys knocked him out of your country, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So this guy right here was the last king of Russia. And this guy right here is Vladimir the Great, who we mentioned in our Is Russia Christian video. We're starting our date in our romantic coffee spot that we just found. Vera, I think one of our first dates were in a bookstore. Is that right?
Yes, it actually was in the bookstore.
And I think I did something stupid, right?
So, well, it depends. Now I understand there are some cultural differences. What is polite and what is rude in one country can be absolutely not polite and not rude in another one. So I remember I was looking for the books and I was holding a pile of books and holding it for several minutes. And in Russian culture, a man, especially if you're on a date with this man, he would jump up and just grab this book to help you. But you were standing there and didn't touch the books. So, and I was wondering what's going on. And then I wasn't sure if I can ask you about that, but later on I asked my friend, who was an American, and I asked her, so I guess there is a cultural difference because he didn't come and he didn't help me with the books. And she said, yes, absolutely. It's quite rude to take the books from a woman if she didn't ask for help. So that was the first time I kind of found out that there is a difference.
So as far as me being a gentleman and not being a gentleman, actually I remember that book incident, and yeah, I mean, what I believed at the time is that you couldn't assume that a woman would want you to hold her books for her. So that's just a difference in the two cultures, I suppose. Well, speaking of books, that guy's an author right there, right?
That's Dostoevsky.
Who?
Yes, Dostoevsky.
Aha. Yeah, I actually listened to his book Crime and Punishment on audio shortly after marrying you, my Russian wife.
Did you like the book?
Did I like it? Absolutely. It's very cool because from what I understand, he wrote the book trying to get an idea of whether or not you could be atheist, whether or not you could live without a purpose, something like that. And he did not know the answer when he started writing it. And he just had this character go through this journey, this terrible journey, where he comes to realize that you have to have purpose, you have to have meaning. You cannot just live however you want. Your guilt, if you do the wrong things, will drive you mad. Something like that.
Actually, that's the book which is a part of the Russian curriculum. Like every, Russian schoolgirl and schoolboy, they'll have to read this book. So I read this book when I was like 14 or 15. It was amazing. I remember I was reading and just thinking about this book.
Yeah, as a Christian, it's definitely very inspiring.
So I was working in the US for 6 years as a psychologist, and I met all kinds of different people, and I was observing a lot as a part of my job. So I would say that we probably have more similarities than differences, but we still have some cultural differences. So have you noticed any differences in our culture, especially like in women and
Oh yeah,
women's
I mean,
behavior?
when I came to Russia, I remember distinctly going on a riverboat cruise with you, and after the riverboat cruise was over, there were men and women and children getting off the boat. And you had to step kind of, you know, a few inches across a gap over the water to the dock. And randomly men, women, and children were coming out, right?
Right.
And every time a child came out, the employee was right there to grab the child by the arm and help them across.
Right.
Every time a woman came out, the same thing. But when men came out, they didn't touch him.
Yeah,
So it was
that's
just
cute.
like, it was just rote every time. And he would either touch him or he wouldn't. And if it was a man, never touch him. And he was right there. He could have touched everybody, but that's how they did it. And I was like, wow, big distinction here. So I'm going into this French restaurant, Jean-Jacques, which my lovely wife loves. Do I look French? Zing zing, Svetlana.
Well, talking about the differences between women in Russia versus women in America, so what I noticed living in America for 9 years, whenever I see a pregnant woman in the line, I had to remind myself, like, don't let her go ahead, don't do that. Because it's kind of rude in American culture, which is it's absolutely expected in Russian culture. Like when you see a woman with a baby or a pregnant woman, you let her go ahead and in the beginning of the line. And in America, it's considered to be rude.
So actually, speaking of food, growing up in America, my father did almost all the cooking, not my mother. But what I've noticed in Russia is I think there's more cultural pressure, not in a bad way, for Russian women to cook a lot and to cook natural food. So speaking of cultural differences, did you notice that when we paid the bill just now, they gave me the thing to pay?
Constantly moving, it hurts you. It's very insistent.
So I'm not saying that men shouldn't pay, but just in America, they're going to put the bill on the table and whoever is going to pay is going to pick it up. Whereas in Russia, they're going to make sure and stick it into the man's face in a polite way, never the woman's face.
Well, another thing I wanted to mention, so when I started driving in Russia some years ago, I remember we always would have some kind of service, and I think it's especially convenient for women when at the gas station, almost every gas station, they would have some employees. They would help you to put the gas into your car, and you can just stay in your car being warm, and they will just serve you, and then they will tip them. So when I moved to the US, I actually have never seen this type of service. So my husband said that they used to have it in the 50s, but not anymore. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just something, again, like a little bit different.
And there's the Kremlin. And here's our metro. Let's go, my lady. Riding the metro. I like how this whole line is outside, so you can see the buildings and have a nice view. Хорошо, моя жена, я хочу практика по-русски, хорошо? Подожди, моя девушка, я открою дверь для тебя, да? My lady, это я, хорошо? Well, it opened for me. So Svetlana, you are a девушка, a young girl. Yes, you are. You're not quite a young girl?
No, I'm not.
But you are also my девушка, right? Моя девушка. Because you are my girlfriend, or you were my girlfriend. Of course, you're always my girlfriend, but you're now more than my girlfriend, you're also my wife. Ah, she's leaving me. I'm supposed to get that door for you, my lady.
I know.
Подожди, подожди. Windy. So, my wife, you are my жена. Da?
Да.
Хорошо. So, Sveta, what are some other simple words in Russian in regards to dating and women and marriage?
You would say парень и девушка. The boyfriend and girlfriend.
Парень и девушка, boyfriend and girlfriend.
Right. Then you would say свидание. If you go on a date, that would be свидание.
Like до свидания.
Yes, like до свидания. Свидание will have another meaning, like a date.
So свидание is date, like boyfriend and girlfriend, perhaps. До свидания is till the next date, it's
Yeah.
like till the next meeting.
Yeah, see you next day.
Sveta, what is this beautiful building in front of us?
You would call it in America a mall. This is our local mall.
And in Russia?
Торговый центр.
So I've actually been to this mall in one of our other videos with two of your cute little sons. Yeah, did you see that?
I don't remember. Don't ask me that.
This video has inspired me to hold the basket for my wife. Flowers, my darling? How do you
Yeah.
say flowers?
Цветы. Цветы. So talking about dates for Russian women, all Russian women, they love flowers. That's
Let me
something
get that for you.
that's something they always want to have for dates and for many other reasons. And I had to train you for several years because in Russia flowers should always be in even numbers.
Why is that, huh?
Well, it's it's a tradition. Like in America, whenever I get a bunch of flowers, I will have to count them, and sometimes it was like 6 or 10, and then I'll have to take one out. Also because even numbers in Russia we only use for funeral. Like when you go to a funeral, then you will have an even number.
So, hon, I think it's something like even numbers are balance, and balance is adding everything up, and that's the end, and that's death. Whereas an odd number, things are not in balance and continuing on, something like that. So Russia has self-service checkout, just like America.
So we hope you really have learned something about Russian women versus American women, and we will continue.
Yes, click likes, click subscribe, ring the bell notification. I am carrying the rucksack of our household items. I'm the man, I'm carrying them for my lovely wife. And click up here for the next video, which may or may not be us at a hockey game.